Hello, welcome back to Woke Nation. Another episode here in the middle of the hopefully towards the end of the this insanity with the coronavirus. President Trump just released a statement, basically kind of backpedaling from what he was talking about keeping the country shut down. We're having new cases every day around the entire country, and but we're at a point now with the economy where it's like if we keep things shut down everything's going to go to total disaster. We're looking at, I mean, millions of people right now are out of work. Businesses everywhere shut down. The entire restaurant industry is devastated. It has to be. Bars, everything. Um, just everyone shutting down. The entire country, I wish it was its own country, but state of California is in total shutdown mode because of Gavin Newsom. New York City, where Cuomo is just the epicenter of where all this madness is going on and taking place. It's where most of the new cases are. So New York's not doing too well right now, and they're totally shut down. I'm in Pennsylvania here. It really doesn't seem as bad here, but that's just me looking around. I don't know anybody personally that's gotten the coronavirus. Um, not there are businesses that are shut down here, but and churches are completely shut down, which I want to talk about in a minute here. But on the whole, I work in a with a roofing company, roofing repair. We have contracts with Home Depots, places like that, and so if they get a leak, they call us. We come and do the repair, or me specifically. Home Depots are open, Walmarts are open, Giants, all the grocery stores, hardware stores, those types of places are all still open, and they're relatively busy. I see a lot of people out when I go out to these sites to repair the roof, and I've been in Pittsburgh, I've been up to Altoona State College. Today I was around Lancaster and Downingtown, so I've kind of been all over this region here, and it's fairly lively as far as people go. The general attitude that I see from most people is that this shutdown has gone on long enough at this point. They're ready to just kind of take this thing head on, protect the vulnerable as much as possible. But the idea of keeping the economy shut down for weeks on end, not knowing whether that will actually stop this thing, to me just is not feasible. I understand the reaction that people have where, they're looking at the cases mounting and they know that if we open businesses and people just go back to their normal routines, this thing is going to spread like wildfire. That's undeniable. This thing is going to spread if we open the economy up. But the question is, what to me is the really crucial question, because on the one hand, okay, you say we open everything up, it spreads like wildfire. We acknowledge this. But on the other hand, you shut everything down, we go into absolute poverty, we go into a depression like that makes the Great Depression in the 1930s look like child's play, where everybody's out of work. Our institutions fail completely. Inflation goes through the roof. I mean, major, it's on the level that we cannot fathom because we're a nation that's used to prosperity and wealth and entertainment and all those kinds of things. And I certainly don't think that we're ready as a country to face something like that without hysteria, panicking, rioting, murder, crime, looting, all that kind of stuff. I see it would just bring about a wave of absolute insanity and anarchy. So those are the two like polar, opposite extremes of what that we could do and the things that would happen along with the consequences thereof. So like most things, I think that the middle road is the way that we would have to take, and that the middle road is to like Trump is kind of suggesting, open up the parts of the economy or the major parts of the economy. Don't slow down the tractor trailers that are transporting goods around the country. I've heard it said if you see the tractor trailers are not traveling, then we're doomed. That's the beating heart, that's the veins, that's the flowing of blood throughout the country. If the tractor trailers are not transporting companies' goods around the nation, around our highways, then something is bad is going on. So we need to keep that flowing. We need to keep the blood flowing. Places like Home Depot, Walmart, Giant, all these kinds of places should never shut down. You can curtail their hours, yes, but never shut them down. Um, it you just can't. Um, Restaurants, they should slowly open those places back up, and just curtail their hours. Bars, a lot of people will have a visceral reaction to the idea of opening up bars right now. But think of all the bartenders and waitresses and waiters and bar owners right now that are sitting at home, unable to work and either going into debt, losing thousands of dollars, or losing their homes, and unable to pay for food for their kids, whatever. This is a nightmare for them. So I say open the bars and just cut their hours. And what you can do is place strict regulation on how many people are allowed at a time inside the building. You may laugh at that idea, but there's something like that needs to be put in place for those types of places so that the people aren't totally screwed and out of work and can't function. But at the same time, you're doing whatever is possible to try to put the brakes on this thing. Nursing homes, places like that, continue to do they should continue to do what they're doing with nursing homes and places that care for the elderly and the sick, etc. Nothing along those lines should change. But the normal day-to-day life needs to return to America, not only for our sanity's sake, but also so that the country is prepared if this virus gets out of control financially and otherwise. You can't fight two enemies at one time. You shut the economy down for weeks on end, and then you'll be fighting two enemies, the virus and poverty. And we are not in any position to do that. We're hardly in a position to fight the virus. And then you think that we're going to be able to fight absolute abject poverty on top of that? It ain't going to happen. That would be the end of America as we know it, period. Second, also, while this virus is, finding out what's true and what's not true about this virus is one of the hardest things I've ever encountered as far as finding out the truth about something. One expert says that it can live for 9 days on the surface of a particular item out in the air. Another person says, no, that's not true. It's 3 days. Another person says something different. And these are all experts. These are all doctors. These are all people that study this stuff, pathogens and everything and the like. Medical professionals are good to listen to, yeah, sure. But medical professionals, particularly those like Fauci or whatever his name is, that's in Trump's circle there, that's always at these briefings, they're paid to think about the disease and the virus and the effects it has on humanity. They are not economists. They do not think about the money and the monetary devastation that this will place. So when they're asked, what needs to be done to curtail this virus, they're going to answer as a medical professional. You need to remember that when listening to these people. Okay, they're not paid to think about the economy or the devastation this will have on workers and what that'll do to America on the whole. When they say to the American public in these briefings that in order to do this we have to be shut down for a good while longer, they're thinking from a purely medical perspective. They're not thinking about the entire picture on a whole, the economy, everything else, the morale of the country, all these things which might seem incidental are actually vitally important. So you need to remember that when you listen to these people, that they're not paid to think about the entire picture. We need somebody like Trump is, okay? So in theory, we should be listening to him a little bit longer than some of the other experts out there, because he is paid as our representative, our president, to take care of the entire picture, to make sure that medically we're being taken care of and also economically, okay? So he's paid to take care of the entire picture. Medical professionals, no. Economists, no. The economists will function only on the economy, and shutting down for a couple weeks is devastating, while they ignore the medical aspect. You need a middle ground. And you don't really get that by listening to the media. That's for darn sure. I like listening to Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, some of the other people on Fox News. I'll get on Twitter and YouTube and watch videos of Mark Levin, whoever. But I haven't been listening to any of them lately because Whether I like Tucker Carlson or not does not change the fact that cable news is there to bring in ratings, and so they're going to emphasize the more hysterical um, aspects of what's going on. They're going to lean heavily on alarmism, and that's not healthy at a time like this. It's already been well documented that places like CNN, MSNBC, you turn them on right now, and the only thing that you're going to see is just a picture of the United States in blood red. And every time there's a death or a new case, it's up there on the screen to be rubbed in everybody's face. I'm not saying that updates are not a good thing, but at the same time, there needs to be some sort of relief for people. Also, people seem to not really be looking into what the virus is itself. And even when you do, that's a hard thing to really find out, what is this coronavirus? What are its symptoms? They vary from person to person. One person says the symptoms are such and such, the next person says something else, and then a healthcare professional over there says it could be all three, it couldn't be none of them. You could have no symptoms, so it's this very vague thing. And it's just vague enough to where people are scared that every sniffle, every cough is coronavirus. 9 times out of 10, it's not. Despite the hysteria out there, there is still a very low percentage of people in every country around the world that has it. 300,000 cases worldwide out of 7 billion people is not that many. The amount of deaths, I don't know the worldwide number, but it's not that much. Swine flu, when it came through America, if I remember correctly, in the first year that it was here, it spread to over 60 million people and had many, many thousands of deaths. Nobody shut anything down for this. The average flu kills 20 to 30,000 people yearly. Hundreds of people die every day from causes that we do not think about or panic about, from drunk driving, from regular driving, from airplane accidents, car accidents, from falling out of bed, from being smothered in bed. You name it, people die from it every single day. Just have some perspective, okay? This virus, no matter how many people, a lot of people are pointing at Italy now that's the fear zone right there, that we could all turn into Italy. And that's possible. Maybe we can. Maybe I'm wrong about all this. Maybe this is the worst thing and we're all going to be like I Am Legend, the Will Smith movie, in 2 weeks' time if we open the economy. Everyone just dead or turned into zombies, and Will Smith will be there with a gun to save us all at the end because he found the cure. Who knows? But I doubt it. And most people aren't really looking at the virus for what it is. The overwhelming majority of people, when they get this thing, are either going to have no symptoms or mild symptoms. You are not going to die if you get the coronavirus. It's just not going to happen. Okay, now if there's a new strain out there that comes and makes a fool out of me, and you get it and 2 days later you're dead, that may be. But the strain that's out there right now is not killing people all over the place. Okay, China, if you can believe what they report, is already over the hump with this thing. Their economy is kicking back into gear. The shops are opening, the factories are opening, they're creating goods and doing their normal thing there again in China. Same with South Korea. They're over the hump as well. Every day for the last several days, they've reported less and less cases, new cases. So it's on the decline there. So there is hope. And as far as I'm aware, South Korea did not shut their entire country down. Neither did China, by the way, despite the fact that Wuhan was under lockdown and some other areas. They did not shut the entire nation down. Okay, they just isolated what you would call ground zero. At worst, that's what we should do here, not the entire country. The same goes with Italy. There's misinformation about Italy. A lot of people say that the entire nation of Italy has been shut down. I don't think that's the case. It's the northern part of it that's shut down. I forget the name of the region. I've listened to a couple podcast interviews with a pastor there whose church is, obviously not meeting right now. I think they have one parishioner in the entire church that has gotten the coronavirus, or it was a parishioner's extended family, so not even the parishioner themselves. And this is a church that's at the epicenter of the disaster zone in Italy. and even though there are hundreds of new cases, and people are dying there, it's still not the Black Plague. It's not as bad as what swine flu did here in America. I think a lot of what's making this so bad is our hyped up reaction to it. If we had the same reaction with swine flu, it would have been as bad. Just because the reaction makes it look bad. Every time there's a death, it's reported. That makes it look bad. Swine flu had thousands of deaths. We just didn't report all of them. So it was actually worse, but it wasn't worse at the same time because our reaction didn't make it worse. Our reaction's what's making this as bad as it is, especially on a global level where everyone's trading, and now because of this thing, this deadly, deadly thing, nobody will trade, nobody will talk. The global economy has ground to an entire halt over something that is basically the flu. Let's just be honest, it's basically the flu. So something needs to give here, and Trump's talking about opening everything up come Easter. I say yes, do it, let's get it over with. Open things up. And then just take the normal precautionary preventative measures that we should have been doing from the very beginning. Social distancing at stores like they're doing at Home Depot. They have X marks the spot, every 6 feet to 10 feet in the waiting lines. There's sanitizer and hand wipes, at the entrance and the exits for the shopping carts, for the goods, for the people working there and the consumers, the people coming in. Everybody is sanitizing and wiping things down, and that's how it should be. But you can't close the place down so that everybody's poor and fearing this virus. It's just not going to work. And these stimulus packages, while nice, and I'm glad that they're doing something, or at least trying to, is really just putting us another $6 trillion in debt when you come to think of it. At this point, it's what's another trillion? But, it's another trillion. With a T, not an M, not a millionaires and billionaires. This is trillionaires that we're talking about, Bernie. It's getting worse and worse. Last thing I wanted to mention really quick is something me and my dad talked about. I've been going back and forth about it. Is what should churches be doing at this point? If you look back through church history, like you go way back, to the Black Plague when that was coming through Europe and everything. I've read many cases of church parishioners being the ones that actually picked people up that were laying in the streets dying of this thing, put them in wheelbarrows and carted them out to the main public square fountain so they could at least have a drink of water before they passed away because they didn't have something to treat them with. So many Christians put themselves at risk to serve those who were dying and suffering around them, and that's what we should be doing. I don't know if at the time the churches were closed or whether they were or they weren't. Is today's circumstance different than the one back in medieval times? Are these just different times and so it's okay that the church was open back then but now it's closed? Should the church be open now? Does it matter what they did in medieval times? I don't know. I think it's a good symbol, at least symbolically. It's a positive, hopeful thing to have the church open during times like this. I've often said that one of the very good things, even though I have a lot of things that I disagree with the Roman Catholic Church, but one of the things that they do right is they're always open. The door is always open so that people can go in and pray, talk to a priest, go to confession, even though I don't agree with how they do confession, but it doesn't matter. That's incidental. The place is always open, and so that it always feels like the heart of the community. And then when Protestantism came in, while I'm a Protestant, there's a lot of things that they threw the baby out with the bathwater with the Catholics, and that's one of them. The church is only open on Sundays, really, when you worship, and then the rest of the day everybody spreads back out to their home and their regular, and they forget about the church itself. It's not the beating heart of the community, and it's times like these when it is so necessary that it be open and be seen as a place of refuge from from a storm. The priest is always there to help. Food funnels through the church, care items, clothing, a bed if somebody has nowhere to go. Think of all the how many homeless people might have a place to sleep, a shelter from the coronavirus if churches were open in California right now. Now, maybe there's things I'm not thinking of. I'm completely wrong. Feel free to comment or tell me about it later, whatever. These are just my thoughts right now. Maybe the churches should be open. Maybe they shouldn't be closed. Maybe it should be optional whether people come in and worship or not. You can still live stream the services so that those who are not comfortable or are sick or are vulnerable can still participate online without going there and putting themselves at risk on Sunday morning services. But those who feel the need to, who are healthy and want to participate physically and corporately, should be able to go. So I don't know that it's a good thing that the churches are closed. I seem to be in a very great minority in this opinion. The theologians that I listen to seem to disagree with me on this, so I'm probably wrong. Like Albert Mohler in his show, The Briefing, this morning, he was saying, Christians should just abide by the government, what they're saying. And by the way, I'm not saying that we should have an insurrection. I'm not saying that we should just go meet anyway in defiance of state order. I'm just saying, is it the right thing to have it shut down? That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying we should go defy the orders. But anyway, he's saying this is a time for it to be shut down, to be safe. R. Scott Clark said the same thing on his show. A number of other people, I think Michael Horton on the White Horse Inn said the same thing. So these are some guys with some pretty hefty, a lot of listeners to their shows that are, saying the opposite of what I am, contradicting what I'm saying. So, I could be wrong, but I just think that, this is a time where it would really, probably help raise people's spirits. And people, a lot of people now don't have the daily opium that they normally do. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people are addicted to sports, addicted to this, addicted to that, addicted to entertainment, all these things that take their mind off of spiritual things or numb them to the idea that one day they're going to die. And so they don't think about standing before God. Well, now here's a virus that's making us all very aware of our mortality. We're not immortal. One day we will die and stand before God, and this virus reminds us of that. Now we don't have the opium, the sedative in television. Well, we have television, but in sports and all these other things that we normally would use to kind of numb ourselves to the basic reality that we're going to be accountable one day when we die. And now the church is closed, at a time when people may have an awful lot of questions, and here it is, silent. The door is closed. So now again, pastors can be reached online, etc., and email. I understand all that, but it's just, again, the easy access of the place being open and the pastor or the priest or whoever being right there and willing to talk in person, in the flesh, at any time, daily is something that I think has a lot of value in times of trouble. But yeah, let me know what you think. Anyway, I don't want to drag this on forever, so thanks for listening, and good night, and God be with you.